What's up everyone, my name is Tom and welcome to Player TV. Today, thanks to the guys at ASRock, we're going to be taking a look at what is inside this box. First of all though, roll on that intro. And take two, did you know, really helps if you turn your microphone on. So yeah, as I said, we are taking a look at an ASRock X470 board here. This is obviously the newest chipset for Ryzen, 2nd gen Ryzen, also does support 1st gen Ryzen. What we've got here is the ASRock X470 Gaming K4 Fatal1ty. Okay, Fatal1ty being the used to be Quake player. So first of all, what we're going to be doing today, we're going to take a look at the box, what is in the box, and then I'm going to bring you guys in nice and close and we'll take a look at the actual board. Today we're not looking at any of the performance figures or overclocking. If you want to see those, do have some more videos coming shortly. Like I said, today just about what we've got in the box and what the board has on it. So box, nice typical black and red, quite striking if it was on a shelf, definitely stands out. The sides, nothing really, and then on the back we've got a bit of marketing gumph, picture of the board with some illumination. Bit of information about power delivery, gaming armour, M.2s, LAN, RGB, sound, USBs, M.2s again. Little box here which just gives you a bit more information in depth as to what is on the board. So if you're in a shop looking, trying to figure out if it covers what you need, read that little bit down there. So that's it for what's on the outside really. Nothing majorly interesting to be honest with you. If you wanted to look it up the box, you'd just go in a shop. You're here to see what is in it, so let's get it open and have a closer look. Now, one thing I will say, I know it's pretty irrelevant because at the end of the day it's just a box, but now most boxes that I have played around with at this sort of price point have just been your typical sort of open the top jobbies. Nothing special, but a nice double sleeve box. ASRock have definitely thought about their packaging and marketing when it comes to this board. So, box. Let's open it up and have a look. So now, the first thing I noticed is it's basically an upside down box. Normally, board on top, everything else underneath. Not with this board. So what do we have? A postcard, driver DVD. To be honest with you, if you're on the internet, don't bother with this. Install Windows, go straight online, download the latest. Don't worry too much about this. There is some software on here though that you may be interested in, but I would again recommend going to the ASRock website and make sure you download the latest version. Guide for which, here, software guide. Quite not happy to see that actually, because normally you don't see software in the guides. It's normally just like the basics about the motherboard, nothing about the actual software. That's a nice one to see. Oh, obviously it's always all online, but some people like a book. Reading material on the throne. Typical quick installation guide. An M.2 screw, 2 packets of serial ATA cables. In each packet you've got a straight one and a 90-degree one, so you've got 4 serial ATAs in total, a high bandwidth SLI bridge, and a relatively basic I/O shield. Must admit, one thing I do feel a little bit let down on a £160 board is the I/O shield. It's not padded or anything, it's not fitted to the board. On this sort of budget, I mean I've seen cheaper boards now with them fitted, but hey, it is just an I/O shield, doesn't affect the performance in any way, shape or form. And my dog is barking, so I'll be back in a minute. Sorry about that guys, I am back. So yeah, that's everything that is in the top tray. Next thing, the motherboard. Lift out our cardboard insert. One motherboard. I must admit it's nice to see some nice padding in it, make sure they're not going to get damaged if you buy it online. Typical anti-static bag. And on that note guys, I think it is time to get rid of all of this, bring you guys in nice and close, and we're going to take a look at what is actually on this motherboard. So here we are everyone, one motherboard. Like I said, I brought you in nice and close just so we can show you just what this motherboard has on board. We're going to do our typical clockwise, starting at the top, working our way around, and we're going to go through absolutely everything that this board has got. Now, starting at the top here, we have a pair of CPU power delivery sockets. We've actually got an 8-pin and an extra 4-pin board, 4-pin socket. This is just so you can deliver extra power to your processor, basically for overclocking. Some VRM heat sinks, a couple of CPU water pump headers. Moving around, next up, the standard 24-pin pair of USB 3 internal headers. So these are for your front IOs, basically. The AMD LED fans. Now these are this is the header basically for your AMD RGB cooler. So if you're using one of the Wraith prisms or one of the Spire prisms, for example, these are the headers that you will use for the RGB built into the standard cooler. Another fan header, 6 serial ATAs. There is actually an M.2 slot here, but we'll come back to these a little bit later. Front I/O, an additional RGB. This is just standard RGB header for all of your LED strips. Clear CMOS, another fan header. Debug. I love seeing these. I like seeing them because a lot of boards rely on beeps. How many people remember to plug a speaker in? Most people forget, so they're sitting there going, my computer's not working. All you need to do, look at the screen. It'll pretty much tell you, and 99% of the time they're pretty accurate. We've next up got our addressable LEDs, so these are for your ones where you can choose what each individual LED does. Another fan header, a pair of USB 2 internal headers. People go, oh, I don't use them anymore. You will do. A lot of things like Corsair Node Pros, NZXT Cab, Hue, they will use these, so they are still handy. TPMS and things, never going to use these. Front audio header here, and this is just a COM port header. You'll probably never use this one, but your front audio header you will use. You can see here, under here, this is where your audio and everything is. This is the AC1220 codec, so it is one of the higher end ones as seen on most X470 boards. Nice shielding across all of this, coming up to our shield over the rear I/O and another VRM heatsink. So we've gone around the outside. Let's move our way just in a little bit further. It's quite obvious here. Socket AM4 with the standard brackets, 4 DDR4 slots. Okay, no shielding, no RGB or anything attached to these. They are just your standard plastic affairs. Auto sort of locking on one end, standard clicking on the other. Our chipset heatsink. There is actually RGB lighting around underneath of this. Quite like that. One M.2 slot, BIOS battery, PCI Expresses. So what we're going to do now, take a look at the M.2s, because there is actually another M.2 under here. And this is one of the things that I like about this ASRock board compared to a lot of the other ones I've used. Now, when it comes to M.2, basically you've got three of M.2. PCI Express 4 times, PCI Express 2 times, and SATA. Yes, you can get an M.2 SATA drive. People forget this, and what it is on this board, this top slot is PCIe 4 times. This bottom slot here is PCIe 2 times or SATA, one or the other. And what I like about this, now one of the other boards I looked at, this slot was 4 times and SATA. But that meant that you could have a 4 times slot or a SATA slot. You couldn't have a 4 times one down here. On here you could have a high speed 4 times in here, and additionally a cheaper either 2 times or even a SATA one. The SATA and the 2 times ones are obviously cheaper, available in the same sort of capacities, but a lot less money. Good to see. So you could put yourself in an ultra fast, say 256 gig Samsung 970 into that. You could then put one of the Samsung 860s into here, the SATA based ones, put a terabyte one in, which will cost you a lot less than buying an NVMe drive of the same capacity. Great to see. So you can use all of the available slots at once in a what I would consider usable manner. Next up, we did actually mention the RGB. Now the RGB of course is around here. There is actually some RGB in this little slot and some RGB in this little slot, as well as obviously your headers. So that's our main points of RGB. And then PCI Express slots. We have a 16 times slot, primary one for your GPU. This is wired for 16 as well as being physically 16. A couple of 1 time slots. We've then got what looks to be another 16 times slot. Now this is a 16 times physical slot, actually wired for 8 times. So you probably can't see on the camera, but basically the pins end there. This part, no pins in it, so if you plug a card into it, it will only get 8 times. And then we've got a couple more 1-time slots. Plenty of slots on here for all of your PCIe cards, whether you want to be putting SATA controllers, sound cards, network controllers, things like that. Plenty of space. And that is basically it for the main parts of the motherboard. It's been a good inclusion. They've not really skimped on too much. Not massive amounts of fan headers, but I can't see that being a problem. But you do have, so the main fan headers being 2 here, 1 here, and then 1 down, 1, 2 down by the bottom here. Not masses, but not a major problem. Anyway, we'll now take a look at the rear I/O. Just get you in focus there. So rear I/O, little bit empty, must say. Nothing here at all. We've then got a HDMI slot, PS2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports. Now these are basically USB 3 5GB a second ports. Okay, 6 of those. The 2 lighter blue ones. Okay, you've got a Type A and a Type C. These are USB 3.1 Gen 2. These are the 10GB ports. Okay, so 6 5GB a second, 2 10GB a second. Intel LAN, and there's your audio out for full 7.1 and SPDIF. These are of course powered by that AC1220 controller. So yeah, this board does indeed support APUs. We do only have the one output though. Might have been maybe nice to have seen the inclusion of a DVI or a display port or something like that, but to be honest with you, if you buy an X470 board, you are not really going to be using an APU. So there we go, we've pretty much been around the whole board. Have I got much that is noteworthy about it? There is really only one thing that, in my opinion, is in the wrong place. These, okay? These are the RGB headers for the standard heatsink. And the Gigabyte board I looked at a few weeks ago, okay, they are actually over here, next to the heatsink. And as it is at the moment, we've got to sort of trail them around, try and keeping it neat and tidy. Would have been nice to have seen them just tucked down here, out of the way, and you wouldn't have been able to see them at all. It's not the end of the world, no, but it's maybe a slight oversight that could have been fixed. So basically, there we go. That's the board. I think it's time to bring me back into shot. So there we go, guys. We have been through this board quite thoroughly. We've seen everything that the board has to offer when it comes to physical connections and everything like that. So far, I'm really impressed with this board. At £160, it pretty much covers every base so far. We've taken a look at what's included in the box, and so far I have got no problems at all. I like the look of the board. It's now normally the Fatal1ty board used to have a lot of red accents on it. What they've done this time around is they've come with the times, ditched all of the colouring on the board. It's just a nice black and very dark grey, and added RGB. That means that this board doesn't tie you into a black and red scheme as it used to. I'm really impressed. Now the X370 version of this board, for example, the chipset heatsink was all black and red. Kind of tied you in. This, no ties with colour schemes. So far, big thumbs up. So what we're going to be doing now, I'm actually going to be ending this video shortly. There's no, like I said, there's no performance figures, there's no overclocking. This is just a look at what is in the box, what is on the board. Okay, if you want to see more videos, click the subscribe button, and I will be back with 2 more videos. We're going to be taking a look at the performance of this board compared to some others. We're also going to be taking a look at how well it overclocks. So there we go. That is me done for today, and if you've liked this video, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. And as I said, you want to see more, click that subscribe button. I'm here all the time. And on that note, guys, bye for now.